Hey guys, welcome back to Jet Set Summer. It's a super cloudy day here in Chicago, so the lighting is a little off, but it's okay. We just had a major snowstorm hit us this past weekend, and it literally snowed all weekend long. It was so nice. I'm not a huge fan of winter. I'm from California, so my winters are usually a little warmer than what I'm experiencing here in Chicago. But I will say, seeing the entire city blanketed with snow is really magical. It's beautiful. But I've been trying to stay inside as much as I can lately, which means I've gotten a lot of opportunity to do a few builds this weekend. And so let's jump into this one. For this build, I decided I wanted to do a tiny home, and I really tried to fit it within those 32 squares for tier 1, but I was like, I want to go a little larger, so we went for the tier 2 tiny home. It took me a while to really figure out the floor plan of this build, and I also included a sim in this lot because I really wanted to test play and make sure everything was working. The rooms were so small, and I had to cramp in like a ton of stuff in the living room and kitchenette. Well, I shouldn't call it a kitchenette because later you'll see it's a pretty good sized kitchen for a tiny home. I had the idea that I would put this lot in Windenburg where there's all of those ponds around the lot. And I really think that it gives a really cool vibe to this tiny home. It kind of is semi off the grid, but at the same time, I definitely didn't build it off the grid. But it gives you that rustic feel, and I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And I love these decals that I put next to the front door. Those decals came in Eco Living, and they just look super cool and modern, and I love that. The whole downstairs, I figured I would make it a living room kitchen combo and have a bathroom on the main level as well. And I wanted there to be a lot of windows. And I didn't put like a ton of windows on one wall, but all the rest of the walls have a lot of windows because there's so much nature around this lot, and I feel like the most natural thing would be to include nature on the inside of this build. And so I wanted it to be kind of like a seamless where so I kind of wanted it to be a seamless experience where if you're sitting inside, you're still getting the full picture of everything that's going on outside. And I tried playing around with a lot of wood tones because of the fact that this feels like a very naturey lot. And so you'll see me playing around with a lot of different wood tones and colors and sizes. For the second room, the entire room is going to be a bedroom with a balcony attached to it. I also put a little awning over the balcony because I thought it would be really cool to put an easel out there and just kind of make it an area where no matter what the weather is outside, you can sit out on this deck and this balcony and just really enjoy it. I also spent some time trying to build a skylight, but I really couldn't figure it out. I know I've done it in other builds before. I know that there's a way where you can make it look like it's, I don't know, like in the middle of the main roof, but I couldn't figure out one end. I got the base end, but the top end I just couldn't figure out to get it to match the rest of the roof. And so I just gave up and was like, you know what, there does not need to be a skylight in this build. And looking at this, the main room is so small. I've always been so curious about what the real experience of living in a tiny home is. I know I've seen those Netflix shows about tiny living, and everybody in those shows just raves about how great living tiny is. But honestly, I just feel like I would be a little claustrophobic. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I attempted to have a tiny home, I could be quite comfortable, but I just don't know if I would truly love it. I love having space. As you can see, like we've got big furniture pieces in our bedroom alone. I don't know how that would work in a tiny home. And people who make it work in tiny homes just impress me so much. The fact that they could live with the bare minimal is really inspiring to me. I love the idea of living with the bare minimal, but I think when push comes to shove, I would have a really hard time with that. I also feel like I would continue consuming things and accumulating new products and whatnot, and I would run out of space in a tiny home to put things. But at the same time, a lot of tiny homes I've seen on those Netflix shows utilize storage space so magically. It is insane, the storage, the amount of storage that is in some of these tiny homes. Of course, we can't really build that in The Sims, but... And here's where I was saying I wanted to bring nature into the interior of this build. So I added a lot of plants on this little table, and it really brings nature inside. I had trouble figuring out the layout of the living room because I finished the kitchen. It's a really good size, especially for a tiny home. But then I realized, oh my gosh, where do I put a couch and a TV? And so I played around a lot, and I figured, you know what, I'll try using a partition like I did next to the front door with those items from Eco Living. So I placed it right next to the island and put the little TV console right on the other side. And I think it works well. I tried playtesting it. Everything seemed to work. So I think it should all be playable. The living room is just very tight, and so I found that my sim was going in like really inconvenient paths to get to things on the other side of the room, which, you know, it's fine. In reality, it would not be like that. You would just go, you know, you would step over things, but in The Sims, he can't necessarily step over the coffee table to get to the front door, so he had to go around the entire kitchen to get to the front door. But it works. It's fine. This bathroom, I definitely had a hard time too. I usually make my bathrooms like at least 2x3 rooms, but I wanted to make it small just so it could fit in this tier 2 64 tile build of a tiny home. And so I used bb.move objects to move around a lot of items in the bathroom. And I found a way where the toilet, the sink, and the shower all is playable and it all works. I play tested it, so it should be good. Upstairs, I definitely decided I wanted to make it a bedroom, but then I remembered that we had these Murphy beds in game, and I figured this could be like a second living room area. And I mean, in theory, I could just delete that whole living room area downstairs and add other items. I figured I would just leave it and have a double living room living space, but I brought the Murphy bed down just so I can envision what the bedroom is really going to look like. Now, this balcony is probably my favorite balcony I've ever built, just because it's so compact and it's so cute. I just love it. I put a lot of hanging plants around just to, again, bring nature into this build. I put an easel out there with some canvases that have already been painted on a little bit later. I just think it looks really cute, and I want to sit on that balcony and just read a book and just chill and look at the pond and nature. I used a lot of debug plants in this build too. As you see, I'm putting these ferns, which I use in almost every build. I just love the look of these ferns. However, the only problem with these ferns are they kind of levitate above ground. There is a gap if you go to a certain angle. There is a gap from the bottom of those ferns to the ground. So I usually just filled the underneath area with low shrubs just to kind of fill up that area and make it look natural. But I also used a lot of the debug items, and I think they came from Eco Living as well, where there are those planter boxes with the flower shrubs in them, because I feel like it makes a good barrier on this deck. And it looks really cool. Speaking of debug plants, these debug trees as well, I love these trees. I don't know why, but I use these trees so often as well. I put a lot of plant-themed items in the yard, such as the planter boxes to grow your own herbs or fruits or veggies. I put a grill out there and a table and whatnot. And ta-da, this is the final build, and I think it looks really sweet. It is way bigger than the normal tiny home would be, but I think it looks really cool, and it's so cute. Alright guys, so let's jump into game and check out this build. Alright guys, here is the house, and of course it's gotta be like 3 a.m. and raining, so let's see if... Okay, this is good. This is the house though, and I think it looks super cute. I built it in this Windenburg lot, and there's this dirt road that kind of comes off the main road to the house. I think the garden is so cute. And here's our sim coming down the ladder here. So we've got this kitchen here, which honestly is a pretty decent size for a tiny home kitchen. And then right here, we've got that very tight little living room. We turn the grid off. We've got this ladder, and a lot of the plants disappeared, but there were a lot more plants on this table. Let's see. There they are. Yeah, and then on the little patio, we've got a little seating area with a grill out here. I've got a little beekeeper's hive out here and some planter boxes that you can plant things in. We've got a little bike out here. We've got the Murphy bed here and a lot of plants up here. We have a computer desk up here as well with a mirror. It's just a really cute build. And this balcony is probably my favorite part of the build. You have this easel up here with some canvases. It's just so homey. Like, I would love to spend so much time on this balcony, but it's a really quick tour, but basically that is the entire house. And if you would like to download it, it is on the gallery. Just find me. I am Jet Set Simmer. It is in my catalog, and it is this one right here, the Modern Tiny Home. And I only use the base game along with 2 packs. I've got the Eco Lifestyle pack and the Tiny Living Stuff pack. So as long as you have those 2 packs, this house will be totally fine to place into your game. That's pretty much all I have for you today. So thank you for watching the speed build of this tiny home. If you have any other ideas or builds you would like me try to do, please let me know in the comments below. As always, like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day. It would actually be kind of cool to have a vacation home that's a tiny home, I'm thinking. That would be sweet. I could do that, but living full-time in a tiny home, I can't do it. I don't know.